Okay, welcome everybody. Special thanks to everyone who joined us for Lag Boimer, for our barbecue and fire and kumsitz. It was very special and very sweet to have everybody out. And yeah, so we're holding here. We are in the Garden of Wisdom on about page 255. And we're getting mamish close to the end. Wow. Okay. But for now, we are finishing off our understanding of the life of the Tam after the turning point of the story. So it happened that the king called for the Tam. And from that moment, his life began to turn around. And his difficulties began to disappear. And he started to become brighter, and he started to have more opportunities, and everything started changing for him. And he began his rise towards greatness. This was the Tam. And we understood that he had this rise to greatness because of the fact that he lived with Tamimus specifically, because of the fact that he lived with simplicity. And he did not go after his own wisdom and ego and all of these other aspects. Rather, he kept a life of simplicity and goodness and emunah, always just trying to do the good things that he could in front of him. And he became great, he became smart, he became wise, but all the while retaining his tamimus, his simplicity. Why? Because he realized that what I have is not based on my own powers. It's a gift from Hashem. This is what he realized. He realized that if I ever, to whatever extent I have chochmah, I have wisdom, it's not because I have some special power that is based on me. Rather, it's that Hashem gave me a gift of having some wisdom. Right? If a person is a tremendous musician and they have a beautiful talent, right? They realize, if they don't realize that they only have this talent because Hashem gave it to them, then they're going to turn into a person of tremendous ego, right? Whatever the aspect is, you're good with money, you're good with people, you have whatever talents we have, right? As soon as we decide it's all because of me, then it's going downhill. I'm going to become an egotistical person. I'm going to become a person of what's it called? Of gaiva, gedula, ego, right? And I'm going to become intolerable. I'm going to become the worst person to be around. Mashenkein, if I recognize that it all comes from the Rebbeinu Shalom, it all comes from Hashem, then I have a whole different existence. So this is where we find ourselves, and we find ourselves in the place that the minister who came to made him a governor, one of the ministers, came to him and told him, you're going to be coming to meet the king soon. So it's proper that you should learn all kinds of wisdoms and languages so you can converse with the king on his own level, on the king's level. And so he did, and he learned, and he became greater and greater and greater, right? But all from a sense of simplicity, that he's only doing it so he can converse with the king. And this is what happened, but always with simplicity still. Always with simplicity, right? So it's interesting, a beautiful and important point. Now listen to this one, guys. This is a beautiful and important point. Well, I might have said this last time, but I'm going to say it again because it's important to me also. A person may go through periods of their life where they go through a lot of struggles. And it feels like it's taking a long time for a person to break through. Feels like it's taking a long time to get to a situation of some type of spiritual comfort, some type of feeling that I'm on my way up, a palpable sense that Hashem is with me, that I have emunah, and things are kind of like going my way, let's say. We can be struggling for a long time, right? And maybe we wonder, why does it have to be this way, Hashem? Why can't it just be good? Why do I have to go through all these struggles? Why do I have to have a problem with this person and this family member and that family member and this friend and this person at work? And why does my parnasa is going up and down, my livelihood, and my children and this, right? It's all so hard. Why does it have to be this way, right? And it's a good question because, Hashem wants things to be good for us. So why does it have to go this way? So one of the beautiful ways to see it, and what he's saying over here, is that Hashem didn't make it like this for the Tam in the beginning. He didn't make everything so great and so perfect for the Tam in the beginning. Why? Because the Tam spent all of these years building and growing and making these aspects of emunah and tamimus, simplicity and emunah, such a deeply entrenched part of himself that it's now unwavering. It's now powerful. It's strong. He's not going to be swayed. This has become part of him. And only now at this point, when it's become part of him, he can receive wisdom. He can become a wise person. And there's no fear, there's no worry that it's going to turn into ego. There's no worry that he's going to become too full of himself. Because now at this point, he became a wise person. Right? He went through a whole part of his life, building, growing, and internalizing these concepts. And now he's ready to the extent where he can hold on to it. And he can be close to Hashem through it. It's like, I once knew a person who, for a long time, he had difficulty finding a shidduch, finding a marriage partner. And he was getting older. And this person went through a lot of struggles. And during those struggles, this person recognized in themselves that they had a lot of problems with arrogance, and they had a lot of problems with anger. And they worked and worked and worked. And it wasn't easy, and they had faced adversity. But what happened? After many years of working through this, they got to a certain level of self-awareness that they could see in themselves. They didn't get perfect, by the way. They didn't fix it completely. But they were able to get to the place where they could recognize, I have a problem with ego. I have a problem with anger. And I see when it comes, and I need to be able to understand and to think how to properly deal with it. And so they had some, they learned some beautiful Rabbi Nachman Torah. They had some therapy and some good advice, rabbinical advice. And they got to a place where they were ready now. Like I said, they didn't get perfect. They weren't completely perfect. But now I can get married. And when things come up in the marriage that are going to be difficult and that are going to be like fire points where they would trigger anger and ego and the person would explode, now they're ready to be able to be married. And when those things come up, to be able to not be perfect, but to be okay, to be in a relationship where they can work through those things together. Right? And so this person needed that time to prepare, to get ready to be in that situation. And once they're there, now Hashem could give them that gift. This person literally said to me, if I would have gotten married 5 years ago, when I was in that state, I wasn't ready to live with a woman and to have an okay relationship. It would have been a disaster, right? So they were able to. We don't all get such a gift. But this person was able to look back and recognize and be thankful for the fact and see their path. So too, this is what we're seeing with the Tam, right? That he spent those decades building up tamimus, simplicity, emunah, faith, and growing stronger and stronger and stronger in this way. Till now, he becomes a governor. He becomes a very wise person. He becomes more worldly. But none of those things now pull him into a place of being full of himself, or a place of ruling over people with authority, in a way like we're learning on Wednesday nights. We said if you use your malchus, if you use your power of authority in the wrong way, harabanas mekaberes es ba'aleha, then that authority that you're using is going to bury you. It's going to be tremendously negative, right? So now he's not like that. He's stable. He's still simple. But now he's wise in everything and he can use it in a beautiful way. That's where the Tam is at. So this is something that we should all take to heart. When we're struggling, when we're going through difficult times, we should try our best to remember this story from Rabbi Nachman. And remember, even though we always hear it, but really try to place it on our hearts, that everything that's happening, all the difficulties, all the challenges, are building me up. They're working my spiritual muscles so that I'm going to be ready when the time comes for the light to shine, right? And it won't break me. I won't have a shiur kelim. So that's where we are with the Tam right now. So we're going to finish off with the Tam's ascent today and begin the descent of the Chochom in Mirz Hashem. Page 255. So we said, afterwards, the king sent for the simple governor to come before him. So he traveled to the king. The king began talking to him about the governing of the state. And the king was exceedingly pleased, for he saw that the simple governor was ruling with uprightness and great truth, without any corruption or deception. After this, the king began to speak about various intellectual disciplines and languages. And the simple one answered him appropriately, and found more and more favor in the king's eyes. The king said, I see that he is such a brilliant man, yet he conducts himself with such simplicity. And it was very gratifying to the king. This is the state that the Tam has reached. So Rav Arush says that on the top of 256, that the king thoroughly enjoyed meeting this person who, despite having knowledge of languages and intellectual disciplines, he stayed honest, innocent, and humble. Why? Because, as he says here, wisdom, when misused in the slightest, incites a person to arrogance. And as soon as a person becomes arrogant, he loses his innocence, he loses his humility, and his honesty. He becomes a person, like he says over here, sly and maneuvering, willing to trample others for his own benefit. Right? So this is why the king was so happy. Because we know, as soon as we start to misuse our abilities and to attribute them to our own greatness, right? What happens? Oh, it's downhill, mamish. And we start using them in a way of arrogance. We start using them to have authority over people. We start trying to figure out ways to make me look better, to make me be over top of other people. And it all, the honesty and the simplicity is gone. And what's left is the arrogance and the I would say heresy, the maneuvering, all these things. Imagine you go to someone to have a discussion for some advice, right? Probably the most important thing is that the person who you're asking advice from, the person who should be a wise person, is there for one purpose. The only purpose is to listen to you and to try to help you, right? As soon as the person says, "Oh, someone's coming now," you know what? I really know a lot about this. I'm a really super learned psychologist, and I've studied all this and this and this. They'll come. I'll set them straight because I know, right? Then the person comes, and the person is not interested at all in what they're going to in just helping the person. They're interested in showing the skills that they have and showing the knowledge that they have, right? So the person might not end up hearing what they came to hear and get the help they need. All they hear is a bunch of quote unquote wisdom, or their opinion, right? It's similar to something that we've said numerous times before throughout this story, which is that when someone goes to you can have a different type of teacher. You could have a rebbe or a teacher who decides, I have something to say over, right? You can imagine someone is making a simcha, and they want to speak to the people at the simcha, right? Let's say it's like a simcha for a bar or bas mitzvah, something like this, right? So you can stand up and you can decide, I have something that I want to say, some wisdom that I've developed and I want to give it over, right? Or you can stand up and you can speak to the people you could say something beautiful about this boy, about the bar mitzvah boy, about the bas mitzvah girl. You could say something that shows their beauty, their incredible gifts, and how much you appreciate them, how much you love them. You could use it as an opportunity to do such a thing, right? Or you can just lay out, get some stuff off your chest because you got the crowd, right? So too with a teacher. A teacher can come into a classroom and the teacher can look at their students and can say, okay, a good teacher would say, let's talk about this in a way that everybody's going to understand. Let's make sure that we're communicating and we're understanding each other. Or you can have a person who comes in and sits down and is like, yeah, I'm so smart and so learned and amazing. I am going to now give over all this stuff that I had in mind. And he doesn't even notice if anyone's sitting there, because all he wants to do is give what's in his mind, because he's got it all, right? So this is also over here. This is what he appreciates about the Tam. He's retained his innocence, his humility, and now he can lead the nation, right, in the way that he's supposed to. Because it's not about him, it's about the people. Very, very beautiful. Very beautiful idea. So, goes farther. So he appointed him to be a minister over all ministers. He's going higher up now. The king made the Tam, who became a governor. He now appointed him to be the minister in charge of all ministers. He designated aside a special place, which would be his place of office. And he gave orders to build an extravagant palace and walls befitting for such a minister. And the king gave him a letter testifying to his appointment, that he should be a minister as described. And so it was. They built him the buildings in the place where the king had commanded, and he went and accepted his lofty position with authority. He went and accepted his lofty position with authority. Right? So that last bit sounds strange. He accepted it with authority. Right? And this is going to be a lesson. This is one of the main lessons that Rav Arush teaches over here, and it's the last lesson that we'll hear from Rav Arush on the Tam, right? And it's a beautiful idea. What does it mean he accepted it with authority? I thought we're talking about the Tam, the guy that everybody loves. What do you mean with authority? What right? That sounds like not good, right? So he says over here that there's a difference between true humility and false humility, right? And what is it? It's like this. It's that true humility, he says this, by the way, at the top, page 257, if you want to see it. False humility brings a person only to doubt themselves. It brings a person to be insecure, right? Because it's not true. It's not real. But true humility, real humility, only strengthens a person's self-confidence and gives them the ability to accept, to be an authority, to be someone who can give, who can help, who can build. Why? Because this person is not worried about anything. Hashem gave me what he gave me, and he put me into this place. So what am I going to do now? I'm just going to do my best to use what Hashem gave me in the place that he put me, and to do what I can do. To in this case, to help to run the country properly. Right? Whereas if a person thinks it's all me, it's all me, we've said this many times, that means everything is on my shoulders. Everything is on my shoulders. And if I mess up, what does that show? It just shows that I'm not as great as I thought I was. And I'm afraid that people are going to see that, right? So therefore, my self-confidence is low. And that it breeds false humility. It breeds false confidence. It breeds that type of arrogance where a person is pretending to put themselves higher and higher and higher and tries to rule over people and appear to be higher than people. Why? Because really they're afraid that they're really not good enough. That's what false humility does. That's what a false sense of real negative arrogance does to a person. Mashen Kain. Oh, the Tam says, this is Hashem put me here. He gave me this place. He gave me the king. He gave me my job. He gave me the ability to become wise. He gave me the ability to lead. He gave me the fact that the king appreciates my honesty and my wisdom. He's giving me all of this. And he put me here. I have nothing to fear. I'm just going to keep going, using what Hashem gave me in the place he put me. And there's no reason to be afraid. If Hashem should decide that I'm not supposed to be in this position anymore, so he'll take me out. And that will be okay also. If I'm not supposed to be here, Hashem will take me out of here. And everything will also be fine. I'll go to a different place where I'm supposed to be. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing to be afraid of. What if it doesn't work out? What if? Okay, then we'll go to the next thing. And the next thing hopefully will be the thing we're supposed to do. Right? Yeah, did I ever tell you guys about the main driving sort of almost like type of mission statement, but it's more like the number one form of guidance of our shul over here? Did I never say this before? I must have said it. Okay. Maybe you'll recognize it when I tell you. So when we started the shul here, at the beginning, I was often very nervous. Are people going to come? Because we started with just a handful of guys. We started the shul, and I would get very nervous, and I'd be starting off the tefillas on Shabbos morning, and I'd be like looking behind to see like, are people coming? Like, is it gonna? Do people? What, right? And so I had a bit of a spiritual awakening at the time, and I went through a bit of a, I exploited those type of situations, some growth, and I was like, you know what? What are we doing? What am I doing this for? Right? The main thing should be that we're doing something that is good and that Hashem wants to happen. So here's what we're doing. Here's our number one mode of guidance. We're going to try to do stuff for the community. And if Hashem wants it, if the community wants it, if it's good, then it'll go. It'll work. And we'll keep doing it. And if not, okay, we'll shut it down and I'll go learn in Kailo. I don't know, whatever. We'll figure something else out. I'll do something else. Because that will be what Hashem wants. And so we always tried to never make ourselves meshubed to anyone's money. Right? Because why? Because we don't want to have to do what somebody else wants. We just want to try to do what Hashem wants. And if Hashem wants us to expand, we'll expand. If Hashem eventually wants us to move to another place, a bigger place, okay, we'll do it. And if not, we're very, very happy to be in our place right here. And we'll just see what happens. But Rabbi, what if the shul doesn't work? What if it gets shut down? What if this? What if that? Okay. Then that'll be Hashem guiding us to a different place. It's also okay. Right? We'll figure it out. So this is kind of the way that the Tam sees things, and this is the way that it's a beautiful way to govern ourselves in our own lives, right? Yeah, Emunah, Bitachon, Tamimus, it's all the same thing. So this is a way to move forward. So this is what false humility does anyway. This is what he's saying. But when you don't do that, and you're saying, "Oh, what if that was the goal?" It's funny because some of the people who were with us at the beginning, who are not here anymore, I speak to them every once in a while, and they inject this type of thought into it. They're like, oh, but we gotta be. If we're not growing, then there's no point, right? If you're not doing this, then we gotta have this, and it's gotta look like this, and the community has to. And I'm like, no, I'm not putting that into my mind at all. We're just gonna try to do good things and do it with tmimus and do it with emunah, and that's it. Right, so this is what he does over here. Where did he get? He says 257. Where did he get the power to keep a level head despite the dizzying heights of success that he was reaching? The answer is that he attributed everything to Hashem. So now that's why it said over here. He accepted it with authority. He had confidence. He felt perfectly confident. Yeah, Hashem put me here to be in a position of authority. I'm going to take it and I'm going to do what Hashem put me here for. That's it. Beautiful, beautiful, important trait. Everybody on board with this one? Yeah? Okay. Let's see a little bit before we move to the Chochom. Let's see some delicious Rav Kivak Torah here also. So, we said, so at first like this. At first, he came to the king, and the king first spoke to him about the runnings of the country, and the king was very, very impressed with him because he saw that he was behaving with honesty and truth, tremendous honesty and truth, without any corruption whatsoever, right? So he says over here that the king started speaking to him in this way, and he saw like this, Rashis. Birer etzle hamelech al hanhagas medina. First, he started talking about how to run the country, and to see if he was running the country properly. Im yesh sham chayim tovim usidarim. Is things going good in the country, right? Because this is the first time that he's meeting the governor after he put him as to be the governor. Because at the beginning, b'techila hagovernor haya chacham. Because in the beginning, the governor was a chacham. and only the guy who ran the treasure house was a tam, you remember? But now he appointed the tam to be in this place of running the country also, right? So the king himself moved that there should be tamimus running the country also. And he says, so Rav Kilak says, Ki, when a person behaves with tamimus, with simplicity, Yecholim lashav v'tshuva, that person can do tshuva. Ulisnaheg b'yosher ve'emes gadol, and to behave in a way of uprightness and truth and honesty. Bli shum avlamir, without any corruption or trickery. Aval im chachmos I efshar lashav v'tshuva. But if we're using these types of chachmas, it's not possible to do tshuva. Avz misgaber hadin v'yisurin, and then things are not going to work well. So he saw that the things were going well in the Medina. The country was working. Why? Because when a person leads in the right way, then things are going to go in the right way. But if you're using trickery and trying to outsmart people and use all this, then you know what? You're going to see things are unraveling. And it's not going the way it's supposed to go. So then he started speaking with him. Remember, Rav Kivak is speaking on a little bit of a deeper level. What is it referring to? What on a deeper level is Rabbi Nachman referring to when he says that then the king began to speak to him about wisdom and languages? He says, Hainu, bekavanos ve'inyanim. He started speaking to him on deeper aspects and intentions. Yedius opopulim u'lashonos, about different levels of knowledge and deep back and forths and different ways of language. How can we connect the creation to Hashem? Through kavanas, through different deep ways of thinking, deep ways of understanding and prayer, through seeing different aspects of wisdom and language and everything. La'los midarga ladarga ad tachlis, to go up and up, closer and closer to Hashem. This is what the king began speaking about. Meaning he saw, right? The way I see it is that he saw that this person is someone of integrity. This person is stable and is now a vessel that's ready to receive. So now he can start seeing, how am I close to Hashem? How can I have deeper kavanas? How can I see the whole universe as one? He's starting to see a deeper existence. Amazing. And then he said, and so the tam answered him properly, and the king thought even better of him. And he said, I see that he's such a chochom, he's such a wise person, and even so he behaves with tamimus like this, and this was very, very pleasing to the king. And so he made him, like we said, a minister over all the ministers. So he says, minister, husar shamanhigas medina b'chochma. So what is a minister? It's a minister that runs the country, runs the land with wisdom. That's why later on the Chochom is going to say that I only see that there's ministers, and the Chochom is going to claim that the king doesn't exist, right? Because it's the ministers who really do the work of running the country. But since now we find ourselves in this place where the concept of tamimus is arising and is being recognized in the country, now, he said, remember, before this, all the ministers were just chachamim. They were wise, right? And people made fun of the tam, right? And they said, oh, he's just a simple person. It's not, right? That's not where it's at. But now, as we said, as the tam is being brought into the kingdom and is being placed in a position of leadership, what's happening in the bigger picture? Like, if this is a mirror of our lives, what's happening in our lives? The idea of tamimus is rising up, and it's getting chashivos. It's becoming important. It's becoming recognizable how important and amazing tamimus, simplicity, holy simplicity is. And now that this is happening over here, now the king is placing the tamimus, above all of the ministers. Above all of those wise people, above all the chokhmah, tamimus is now at the top of all of the wisdom, right? This is where we're seeing ourselves over here. Now, all of the ministers are going to receive all their wisdom from the tam, from the simple one. Because the main way to really get actual, proper, true wisdom is only through the vessel of tamimus. Only through the vessel of simplicity. If I turn it into one of these one of these aspects of how great is my knowledge, and how, and put all of the negative thoughts into it, and the conniving, and the arrogance, and all these things, right? It's not real wisdom, and it's not good. But if it's coming from the place of tamimus, which is what is happening over here, then it's going to be real and true wisdom. And so he started building for him a new palace with walls. So he says over here a deep idea that comes from one of Rabbi Nachman's Torahs later on. And he says that there's when a certain person reaches a certain level of holiness, of righteousness, a certain tzaddik, he's called a chosim, he's called a seal. Why? Because it's like a seal that holds back klipas, that holds back gezeras against the world, right? In other words, and what does it mean over here? It's now that he gets to such a place, Hashem builds walls around this person and says, you know what? Now things are going to go good for you. Things are going to start to work. And he says, listen to this. He says, and they established from heaven that things are going to go smoothly for this guy now. And even if he's going to stumble and sin, right away he's going to have a arousal to do tshuva, and things are going to go back, are going to flip over right away. This is where he's at. And this is a tremendous shmira. It's a seal that Hashem puts around someone. So once again, this is what happened to the Tam after spending 20 years, however long it was, just building himself up with emunah and tamimus. After struggle and poverty after poverty, constantly just building emunah and tamimus, he now got to a place where he's ready. He's a strong, capable vessel that can receive all this light from Hashem. So now what's happening? Things are going smoothly. And when things are going smoothly for him, it doesn't put him into a place of arrogance. It doesn't put him into a place of kafira, of denying Hashem, right? We talked about this many times over the years, right? When we always said like this, we said, why can't it be that why can't we just constantly go up, closer and closer to Hashem? And we saw from Reb Nosson, what did Reb Nosson tell us? An important chiddush. He said, because if we would keep going up like this, at the same time, our ego would keep going up and up also. That's what would happen, right? So what happens to us, normal people, is we go up, and then Hashem knocks us down. He says, you know what, you made it, good. But you know what, I got to knock you down a little bit in order so that you don't become too arrogant. And like the Torah says, that we became fat, and then we forgot Hashem, right? So no, Hashem says, I'm going to knock you down, but don't worry, it's a gift. It's going to be good for you. And then we go up a little bit more, and then just so we don't get too arrogant, you can feel yourself becoming arrogant when this happens. Then you're getting knocked down a little bit more, right? And Hashem says, okay, you're doing great. I just got to knock you down a little bit, so you're not going to get too arrogant and run away from me. Let's go up again, right? And then knock down again. This is what Hashem does to us, right? And every time, He's just giving us a gift. He's just helping us grow, right? But the Tam now, He's telling us what could be in the future, right? The Tam spent decades and decades struggling with poverty and difficulty and not having such a great mind and not being so smart and wise, not having any authority, right? Working and working and working, but always focused towards emunah and tamimus. And now he's there at such a place where things can go smoothly for him and he can keep going up and up and up. Why? Because he's not falling into ego. He's so strong now. Right? He did this work that was necessary, and now he can hold on. This is what's happening over here. Amazing, right? Totally amazing. Yep. How much time are we at? Okay, so then v'nasan like ksav al hamsinus azois. He gave him a ksav, a written like a what's it called? It's like a certificate, whatever. He is now in this position of leadership, right? So he says, "Kasavhu, ksavhu haseichel hakoilel." This is something that is now it's a higher level, called the seichel hakoilel, which is the all-encompass. It's the highest level of righteousness, of being like of a tzaddik. That he can be mamtik es kol hatzimtzumim. That now he has the ability to sweeten all constrictions, to sweeten judgments. right? Because at the time he says, when a Kadosh Baruch Hu gives this to a person, he now has the ability to run everything in his life with simcha, with happiness, with no anger and no sadness. And this is the main power of being able to run a person's life, to guide, to lead. That they give to a person from heaven. Whoa. Is the power, giving the person a power to guide the world with yishuv hadas, with a settled mind. With a settled mind. Right? What guys is the thing we always used to say about emunah? Calm, what did you say, quiet confidence? Quiet or calm confidence. Calm confidence. This is a person of emunah. Right? Just like we said, you don't have to worry about what's going to be, or how are people going to think of me? Why? I'm just doing what the Rebbeinu Shem put me here for. Right? Calm confidence. This is the next level that a person can get to. To be able to find the proper eitzah, the proper advice, what to do in every situation. And not to fall into anger and judgment. Right? So that you shouldn't get into the situation of, this is a direct quote from our Wednesday night shiur, Nunvav, Rabbanus mekaberes es ba'aleha, that authority and leadership bury those who possess it. Not if you're a person of tmimus. If you're a person of tmimus and pshitus and emunah, then you have yishuv hadas. You have the ability to lead without falling into these things. Yeah, amazing. Amazing. So this is where we find ourselves now with the Tam, and this is something that we all have to look forward to, because we're all learning together all the time, and we're all learning this Torah from Rabbi Nachman, and we're all using it, I hope, and it's helping us to grow and grow and grow. And we see things are going to go up and down. It's not going to be easy, but Rabbi Nachman's telling us, you know what? You know why he's telling us that this is what happens with the Tam? He's telling us that this is what we can all achieve. We can get ourselves to a place where things can go smoothly and where I don't fall into sadness or into anger or into confusion. Why is this happening? What do I do? What's going on? And all of these, difficulties and pain and suffering. It doesn't have to always be like that, and it's not going to always be like that. As long as we keep working and building emunah, building tamimus, we are going to get to this place where things can be okay, and I'm just going to keep getting closer and closer to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and it's okay. And it's not going to be a problem because I'm not going to fall into ego, and I'm not going to fall into kafira anymore. It's going to be good. This is what we can do, and this is what happened to the Tam. And remember, he didn't figure it out, right? He didn't force it to happen. He just kept being good, doing good things, living in the moment, in the presence. Trying to be good, trying to be simple, and to do what Hashem wants me to do with what Hashem gave me in the place that Hashem put me. That's the Tam, that's Tamimus. And through that, he built up this tremendous vessel to be able to become the leader of the entire world in the story, right? So what about the Chochom now? The Chochom. We're on page 259, chapter 8 in the book. The Clever Ones Decline, it's titled. So let's see what happens. Now, the aforementioned clever one, when he received the letter from the king, answered the clever messenger who brought it. Wait and stay here the night, and we will talk and contemplate together. Right? So, I don't know if you remember, but when the messenger came to the Tam, what did the Tam say?
Let's go.
He said one thing. He said, just no mockery, no joking. And the guy was like, no, this is real. He was like, okay, let's go. I'm going to the king. This is what he did right away. I think if I remember correctly, he didn't even ask his wife. He just went, right? Whatever it was. There was a Torah over there. Okay. So, but the Chochom doesn't do like this. Page 259. He says he preferred to wait, sleep on the matter, discuss it, and contemplate it. This was a gross affront to the king's honor. The king sends for you, and you decide, let me sleep on it. You know what, I'm going to think about it. Let me really think about whether I should go to see the king or not. What are you talking about? The king is calling you. The king is calling you. Go to the king, right? No, this is not what he did. So, Rav Arush says like this, an important lesson. You know, there is such a thing, and it's very meritorious to be cautious and well thought out, of course, right? Discerning, yeah. But and we always talk about, you have to have things like boundaries, we've said before in the past, right? You have to think things through. However, when things are clear, that's not the time for this. That's not the time to start thinking and going back and forth, right? What's clear? When you know the king is calling you. You don't start thinking, you don't start, trying to chochomify everything and think through everything. Or you don't start, we'd maybe say in actual English, we don't intellectualize everything and overthink everything, right? No comment. When the truth is crystal clear, one must decide and act immediately. For example, if a person is drowning or trapped in a house fire, we don't convene a committee meeting to discuss what should we do, right? No, you run and you save the person. You do what you have to do, right? So anytime we know that what the king wants, meaning, what are we saying over here? When we know there's something that the king wants, when we know, so this is an interesting idea we're going to see over here. We know the king wants something. What's things that we know the king wants? When we're presented with the opportunity to do some type of explicit Torah mitzvah, right? We should not tarry and contemplate and analyze and overthink and intellectualize it. Do it. Just go and do it, right? So he brings the example over here, right? Jewish law requires that we rise early and pray on time, right? So this is a good example. There's a concept that's called, it's a midah, like a character trait. It's a good character trait. It's given a good explanation in the book called the Mesilas Yesharim, The Path of the Just, if you want to look it up. The trait is called zerizus. Zerizus means, they always translate it in English as alacrity, which now needs a second translation. It means to do things with zeal, quickly, right away, right? Zeal, is that what you're going to say, Eli? Yes. Zeal, with zeal, right? You jump at the chance, you do things quickly. Right. So zrizim makdimin lemitzvos is a saying of Chazal, and it means people who are zealous, I guess, alacritous. They're quick, right? They go and jump at the chance, and they do mitzvahs quickly. They do things quickly, right? And it's a tremendous midah. It's a tremendous midah to have, because you don't allow, right? With the lashon Chazal is also, you don't allow when a mitzvah when a mitzvah comes to your hands, al tachmitz, don't let it become sour, right? Something comes that's good, it's from the king, do it. Jump at the chance. Don't be like, well, I don't know what people are going to think, I don't know if I'm ready, I don't know. Do it! That's it! Just do it! You hear? So, so what's happened? What happens over here? The Chochom is like, I'm not so sure about this. Let me think, and starts thinking about why is the king calling me? Is there ulterior motive here? What's going on? We're gonna see really what he says over here. But he says that there are situations. This is on page now on 261. There are situations where we must be as steadfast as the rock of Gibraltar, such as refusing to conform to forbidden behavior, even when it's the norm in a given society, right? So, you see that in our society, many things are being challenged, and sometimes, the wave of what's considered right to do flies in the face of, let's say, traditional values, right? So that requires us to be strong and steadfast, and not to move, not to budge, right? That's the opposite of this. When we know the king is calling us, when we know something is legit, we jump at it and we do it, right away. But contrary to that, we also have to have the other trait, which is we stand strong in the face of other things that call us, that are not, we don't know that it's the king, or we see that it's B'davka not the king, right? This is important. Whenever the truth is clear, such as in the case of a Torah commandment, or in the case of something explicitly learned from one's rabbi and spiritual guide, we must not compromise, right? We don't move, and we jump. We jump at the chance to do it. An important idea. So I want to say over here from Rav Kivak, he says something awesome over here. Let me just find it. Listen to this. V'nefilas hachacham haya machmas shehimtin. The fall, the descent of the chacham was because he waited. Machmas shehimtin, because he waited. Ki adam tzarich lahavin. A person has to know. So this is really cool. I wrote down in my book over here that this is the reason for the mitzvah of zrizis. This is the way that we can understand why. We said, if the king sends you something, if you have a mitzvah, do it right away. Do it with zrizus. Do it with zeal. Why? Why is that the right thing to do? Maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe the right thing should be I should chill out, think about it, and no. Why is it so good? What's pshat? So he says, a person has to understand shekol ha'ara u'machshava toiva shel Torah tefillah, that any sudden turning on of the light in someone's mind or neshama, and a good thought of Torah or of prayer, vehirhur tshuva, or a sudden thought to do tshuva, to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu chesed Hashem. This is chesed from Hashem coming to you right now. Sheshayleach loy ramazim likroi loy, that He's sending you hints to call to Him. And He wants to meet together with you. He wants to see you. That's why He's sending this. So therefore, we have to act with zrizus. The king is sending us a message. He's like, I'm calling you right now. You have that sudden feeling like I should do something. I should go out. I should go to do hispodidus. I should really daven. I shouldn't. But then you start falling into those habitual things that pull you down onto the couch or onto the bed or into the TV, whatever it is, right? Those things that pull you away. You had a call from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem called you. You had one thought. I shouldn't do this tonight. I should do something good, right? And then you started getting pulled down. Why? Because you missed the call. If you would have jumped on that call, you heard Hashem calling you, do some tshuva tonight. Do something good right now. I'm giving you a message. I'm giving you a desire. Where do you think that's coming from? That's coming from Hashem, he's saying over here. That's why zrizus is such an important mitzvah. When you feel that call to do something, jump on it right away. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu calling you. He wants to talk to you. He wants to see you. And if you let it go, then the klivas, the Yetzer Hara, everything starts being like, oh, Hashem's calling you. I'm going to just give you a little pull. And I'm going to pull you out. I'm going to make you wait just a couple minutes. And once you waited a couple minutes, oh, now I got you. Now the Yetzer Hara's got you. Now you're going to watch a TV show and it's going to turn into a binge watching session. And who knows, you're going to eat something and you're going to whatever, you're going to fall asleep. And it's all going to pull you away and you're going to be gone. That's it. And you missed it. You missed the call. Kadosh Baruch Hu was calling you. I want to talk to you. This is the amazing nature of the midah of zrizus. Hear this. Listen to what he says. Even if you get a sudden awakening in the middle of the shuk, in the middle of the shopping mall, let's say, right? You're walking through the promenade over here, and all of a sudden you have some type of little spiritual awakening. He says, Teichef ya'atzor mimrutzasoi. Stop your hurrying for a second. He says, right away, stop your hurrying. V'yasoik b'hisboidadus ezizman. And just like for a few minutes, right where you are, just go walk off to the side, put your phone up to your face, pretend you're talking to someone, and just start talking to Hashem right there and then, a few minutes, right? Why? So you can connect to that little bit of ratzon, of desire that Hashem is sending you. Right? Don't let it slip away. Hashem's calling you. Just be like, Hashem, I'm hearing, oh yeah, I'm getting your call. Thank you. Thank you, Hashem. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to wrap up my shopping and go do something good. Or, whatever it is. I don't know how it's going to look for everybody. But don't let it slip. That's Hashem calling us. But then you can continue on, finish what you're doing. But you didn't ignore the phone call, right? How many lame-o fake phone calls do you get a day, right? I never answer the phone anymore. I hate to say it, because it's always, like, unless I know the person's number, because it's always something ridiculous. So many calls, right, that we're just ignoring, right? So we have to realize that, like, but you have certain people, hopefully you have your spouse is in your phone. So when your spouse calls, you know that that's who it is. And what do? Husbands, you always, always, always answer that call. Like, no matter what. You always answer when your wife calls. Right? That's like we have to put into our own spiritual phone memory. We have to create a contact for Hashem and be like, every time I have a little desire for tshuva, a little desire I should daven, a little desire I should learn something, a little desire I should go and do some chesed. I know someone needs my help. I should go, right? That should be like call display in my head. They're in my contact list. That's Hashem calling me. I gotta answer it. And even if it's not for the whole day, I just answer the call and I say, oh, Hashem, you're speaking to me. Thank you. Chances are, maybe even if you continue in your shopping, probably it'll lead you to a good place that day. It'll lead you to something good. Right? Isn't that a fantastic idea? Oh, thank you to Rav Kivak for that one. Beautiful. But when a person says to Hashem, I don't have the energy for this right now. Right? Hashem says, if you go to daven Ma'ariv with a minyan late at night, right? And you suddenly realize, it's 10 o'clock and I'm exhausted and there's a minyan at 10:15. But you say, you know what? But I didn't sleep well last night. I had a hard day today. Really, I don't have the energy for it. I can't go. I shouldn't go, right? I'll do it. Don't worry. Tomorrow I'll do it. And now you go do other things. What? You don't go to sleep. Rather, you fiddle around and do stupid things for 2 hours. Who knows, right? You're souring and ruining that little bit of illumination that Hashem gave you. Hashem said, "Come on, I'm calling you," and you just turned it into you let it rot. You let it rot. And through that, a person falls from their place till he can get to the very lowest level of being an apikoros. Like Rabbeinu. Okay. This was the main mistake of the Chochom over here. When the call of the king came to him, to redeem him from his suffering. He first said, I'm gonna sleep on it first. I need to sleep. And nighttime and sleep time is a time when the klipas take over. And it's not a time of when desire is illuminating. And since the ratzain was cut off, the connection of desire to Hashem was cut off, right? So, what did he say? The opportunity was lost, right? So, I don't know if you caught the words that he said over there, and if you see this in the whole story, right? But this was his chance. Like Hashem was sending a chance to him. He's the king, just like by the time the king was calling him, and was calling him for a purpose to bring him into this great position. The king was calling the Chochom also, in order to give him an opportunity to have a gula. He was giving him an opportunity, but what did he do? He literally said, "No, thank you. I'd prefer to go to bed, and then I'll think about it a little bit." Right? And he missed his opportunity. He heard the call and he decided not to go. He didn't trust the king. This is scary business, right? It's good for us to look at the trajectory of the Tam and say, "Oh, you know what? I'm going to get there one day, and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to make it there." But then we have to ask ourselves also: are we hearing the king when he's calling us? Are we answering the king when he calls us? Are we really doing it? Are we actually trying to be like the Tam? Or are we being like the Chochom? We're saying, I know better. I'm not really interested right now. This This is a scary thought in my mind. Yeah. So he said, weiter. We'll do a few more minutes, and then we'll... In the evening, he made a lavish meal. This is page 262, by the way. In the evening, he made a lavish meal. During the meal, the clever one rationalized with his wisdom and philosophy and said, "What is this, that a king such as this would send after me? A king like this, who has an entire government and such grandeur. Am I such a lowly and disdained person in comparison to such a great and awesome king like this? And I am such a lowly and disdained person in comparison to such a great and awesome king like this. How could it possibly be logical that the king would send for someone as lowly as me?" This is what the Chochom says. And as we know, this is like reeking of false humility, of course, right? So it sounds like he's being humble, but really is not. It's arrogance and absolute false humility. It says on the top of page 263, What is that fantastic quality of mine that the king or his advisors lack that motivates him to seek me? He wants to have his ego elevated. He's trying to understand, why, if I go to the king now, how is it going to raise up my ego? In other words, the clever one was willing to respond to the king's request only if he could feel that the king needed him. Such a feeling would feed his ego and enable him to appear before the king full of pomp and self-importance. Right? It's like when we get a call from the king to do some chesed. Someone needs our help. Right? So sometimes, if no one's going to know about it, we're like, eh. But if we have an opportunity to do something in a way where everybody sees, and then I could like post it on social media. Here's me, giving a poor person, right? You ever seen these things? These people make where they go out and they videotape themselves helping. Like, what are you doing this for? What you want people to like you and to give you? You want to grow in followers? Like you're trying to. It's a human being you're talking about over here. Give the person some help without the whatever. Although I have to say, some of those things are probably inspiring to people. I think they do some good, those types of things. Anyway, right? Getting off topic, but this is what when the king calls us, are we saying, I see there's an opportunity here. Is it going to make me look good? Is it going to make me feel better about myself? Then I'll do it. But if it's really hard, and if it's really, I don't want to do it, but I realize it's the king, then I'm doing something amazing. Yeah. It's like when people come to the door during dinner time with your family, right? And you just want to you had a hard day of work, you want to be sitting with your family at the dinner table, you want to eat, you want to be able to spend time, and someone comes to your door who needs something from you, who needs help, whatever it is, right? It's very, very hard in that situation to go and answer that door and leave the family, leave the food, leave everything and go. No one gets to see. No one, right? It's just it's your effort and your help, and that's it, right? So in that case, do you do it or not? Yeah, it's geschmack. Okay, that's the way we should be. The Chochom is the opposite. He only wants to do it if it's going to make him look good. So contrastingly, the simple one never questioned the king. If he was happy with his life of humiliation, if he was happy with his life of humiliation and the three-pointed shoes, he was thrilled to be summoned by the king. In like manner, a truly humble person who sees himself as nothing is excited to do every single mitzvah, since it's a personal summons from the king. A humble person like the simple one merits to serve Hashem in joy, getting to know the king and getting close to him. Right? This is what he's like. So what did he do, this guy? He thought the king was calling him. What does the king need from me? The king doesn't need you or anyone else, Mr. Clever. The king does. This is what he says, Mr. Clever. The king doesn't need you, right? This is what he said. What does the king need from me? He actually thought that the king needs him for something, right? If the king's calling you, it means the king wants to do something for you. If the king gives you an opportunity to do a mitzvah, to help out, to call to him, to talk to him, whatever it is, it's because the king wants to give something to you. He thought, wait a second, the king can't need something from me. So that's what made him start to think, why am I being called? Doesn't make sense. Right? So he said, this is another important one. In like manner, anyone who probes the nature and logic of the Torah's commandments misses a unique opportunity to meet the king. Right? So I think I told you before about different things that happen to people where they start to question about things. Like I think I told you before, I knew a guy who put on tefillin for many, many, many years, then was like, I don't feel anything. This is supposed to like give me meditative bliss, and it's not working. I'm not doing this anymore. It doesn't make who says that this is what's okay, it's written in the Torah, the whole thing. Yeah, I get it. I understand. He knows the whole thing. But he started thinking, like, why am I doing this? What's the purpose? Is it really doing anything? Is it, I'm not having my third eye opened by putting on tefillin every day, right? And the truth is, whoever said that that's supposed to happen? That's the opposite behavior of the Tam, right? The Tam puts on the tefillin every day and says, the king told me to do this, I'm doing it. And I'm not feeling anything, it doesn't matter. I'm doing it. And eventually, what happens? The vessel is made and he gets filled with light. And he does have a blissful experience. But it's not up to him when it's going to happen, right? So this person decided, I'm not so sure about the king, about what the king told me to do. And he started digging into it, and the person ruined his life because of this, right? Mashen Kain, you see over here, the Tam does the opposite. This is what the Chochom is doing. He's saying, why does the king need me? He's looking into the what the king is calling him. So he says like this, listen to this. This is important because we're coming up to Shavuos, right? In just, 15 days, something like that? Yeah. Since the time of our forefathers, the Jewish people have served Hashem with simple and unquestioning emunah. Right? What happened by Kabbalah Satorah where we said Na'aseh v'nishma? This is at page 265. We said Na'aseh v'nishma, which means we will first do and then we will hear. We'll first do what you're asking, we say to the king, and then we'll understand, then we'll get it afterwards. This is what the Tam does. This is what one of the biggest things of Shavuos is Na'aseh v'nishma. Is I don't need to know, I don't need to understand, I don't need to get the whole thing. I'm going to do, Hashem, because you're asking me to do. That's why I'm going to do it. This is the life of the Tam. This is the building blocks that made the Tam who he is, and that made him soar to tremendous success. This is the characteristic of the simple one. He acts immediately when summoned by the king, putting off all other talk until later. Right? So we're at an hour here. I think we're going to stop. I wanted to stop at a different place, but that I think will take us another half hour. So we'll hold it there, and we'll continue next week. Any comments, guys? Questions?